Hello, Yoga Mamas. Today we're going to do a restorative pose called supported seated angle pose. It's based on Upavista Konasana, which is a wide angle forward bend. So you would make a V with your legs. So with restorative yoga, we use props. But before we get into that, I just wanted to talk a bit about how we hinge forward in forward folds. So here we have Dandasana, which is like sort of the base of all seated forward bends. When you're sitting there, it's really common for people to feel like they're collapsing back. If there's tightness in the back of the legs, that will happen. And the best way to remedy that is to get a support under the hips. So maybe you would get a bolster or even just like a firm cushion or a folded blanket. And that kind of tilts you up and it makes it easier to tilt from the hips. So the best way to get that length of the spine is to bring the hips up. You tilt them forward. And if you're not quite sure where your hips are at, you can feel your lower back. And if it's rounded, then you need a little support. Or you can bend your knees. It's helpful to do a few rounds of rounding and lengthening the spine. This is like cat-cow pose if you're familiar. So just get that sense when you do that of how that motion comes from the hips. And it's not just flexing and straightening the spine. It comes from tilting the hips back and then tilting them forward. Again, you can bend the knees if you need to. I know sometimes my legs are tight and I need that little bend. So for a supported seated angle pose, you can get a folded blanket or a cushion, put under your hips. I angle it so that I'm going to be sitting on the corner of it. Some people like to sit on the straight edge. That's fine. You can play around with it. And I should mention this video is meant to be informative. So watch it real quick, get the details, and then after the video, try to practice on your own. And the idea is that you decide how long to stay in the pose. Because if you follow the video, there would be a fixed amount of time, right? So I want you to do it on your own time and just have that quiet time to yourself and see how long it feels good to stay. All right, so I'm sitting on the corner of that bolster, might wiggle my toes a few times, and this is a good time to just see what angle you want your legs at. And some people will initially just really make a wide angle. It doesn't matter how wide the angle is. It's more about what feels good. So you might have the legs wider or more narrow. And then once you're seated on the edge of that bolster, you can get some supports under. I have 2 bolsters and a folded blanket. If you're more flexible, you might take off that blanket. You might have 1 bolster. But if I just am really honest with myself right now, my legs are tight. I'm going to do the 2. See if that feels good. And I feel when I do that, my neck is really hanging and my back feels rounded. So I'm going to put that blanket back on. Okay, kind of maybe bring the legs a little closer together. And notice when I come forward, it's not that I'm bringing my head down. I'm hinging at the hips. And the whole spine is staying lengthened as it folds forward. And then I rest my head. I could turn my head to one side. And if I do turn my head, then I halfway through, I turn it to the other side. The other option is to put your hands on the support stacked and then put your forehead down on the stacked hands. So if you're not sure if your spine is lengthened, you can again bring your hand to your back and see, is my spine poking out? Do I need supports under the knees or do I just need to bend them? And everyone's different. Some people like to stay 1 minute, some will stay 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And even you might find on some days you'll stay longer or shorter than on other days. So if you want to see the post that's connected to this video, you can visit urbanyogamama.substack.com. And I'll put the link for this specific post in there. But if you go to Urban Yoga Mama, you'll find all the posts there. So I hope you give this pose a try. Let me know how it goes. And I'll see you later. Thanks for practicing with me.